Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale, Srimate Bhakti Vedanta, Swamin Iti Namane, Namaste Saraswate Deve, Gaudavani Pracharane, Nirvishesha Shunyavadi, Paschatya Deshatarane. Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hey. Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hey. Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Rakshamam. Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hakimam. Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rakshamam. Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Hakimam. Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga, Gaura Hari. Gaura Hari Jaya, Gaura Hari. Nitai Gauranga, Gaura Hari. Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga, Gaura Hari. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhar, Srivasa Adi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhar, Srivasa Adi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha, Gopala Govinda Rama Sri Madhusudana. Hare Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha, Gopala Govinda Rama Sri Madhusudana. Hare Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha, Gopala Govinda Rama Sri Madhusudana. Govinda Jaya Jaya, Gopala Jaya Jaya, Radha Ramana Hari Govinda 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 Jaya Jaya. Om Apavitra Pavitrova Sarva Avastangato Piva Yat Smaret Pundarik Akshang Sabaya Abhyantara Suchihi. Shri Vishnu, Shri Vishnu, Shri Vishnu. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnana Anjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Mukhaṁ karoti vachalam Pangum langhayate girim Yat kripatamaham vande Sri Gurum Dinataranam. Yat kripatamaham vande Parama Ananda Madhavam. Trinadapi Sunichena Tarar Eva Sahishnuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari. Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama Eva Kevalam. Kalo Nastyeva 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 Gatir Anyata. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, for the past several weeks, we have been studying this rather large section, the Yadavas, the Yadus, and the residents of Vrindavan have met after many, many, many years, and they are in Kurukshetra observing the solar eclipse. And there have been meetings. We've read about various meetings. Krishna reunited with Nanda and Yashoda, and last week we heard how Yudhishthira glorified Krishna. So today's class is kind of special. It's entitled, Draupadi Meets the Queens of Krishna. When Lord Krishna was busy meeting various kinds of visitors, and while they were engaged in offering prayers to Lord Krishna, The female members of the Kudu dynasty and Yadu dynasty took the opportunity of meeting with one another and engaging in talk of Lord Krishna's transcendental pastimes. The first inquiry was made by Draupadi, and she inquired from the wives of Krishna. Draupadi addressed the queens. "Oh, my dear Rukmini, Bhadra, Jambavati, Satya, Satyabhama, Kalindi, Shaibya, Mitravinda, Lakshmana, Rohini, and all the other wives of Lord Krishna. Will you please let us know how Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, accepted you as his wives and married you in pursuance of the marriage ceremonies of ordinary human beings?" To this question, the chief of the queens, Rukmini Devi, replied, "My dear Draupadi, it was practically a settled fact that princes like Jarasandha and others wanted me to marry King Shishupal, and as is usual, all the princes present during the marriage ceremony were prepared with their armor and weapons just to fight with any rival who dared to stop the marriage. But the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, kidnapped me in the same way a lion takes away a lamb from the flock. This was not, however, a very wondrous act for Lord Krishna, because anyone who claims to be a very great hero or king within this world is only subordinate to the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. All the kings touched their helmets to the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. And so, my dear Draupadi, it is my eternal desire that life after life I may be engaged in the service of Lord Krishna, who is the reservoir of all pleasure and beauty. That is my only desire and ambition in life." After this, Satyabhama began speaking. "My dear Draupadi, my father was very much afflicted on the death of his brother Prasena, and he falsely accused my Lord Krishna of killing his brother and stealing the Syamantaka jewel, which had actually been taken by Jambavan. Lord Krishna, in order to establish his pure character, fought with Jambavan and rescued the Syamantaka jewel, which was later delivered to my father, Satyajit. My father, however, was very much ashamed and sorry for accusing Lord Krishna of his brother's death. After getting back the Syamantaka jewel, my father, Satyajit, thought it wise to rectify his mistake. So, although he had already promised others my hand in marriage, my father submitted the Syamantaka jewel and myself at the lotus feet of Krishna, and I was thus accepted as his maidservant and wife. After this, Jambavati replied to Draupadi, "My dear Draupadi, when Lord Krishna attacked my father Jambavan, the king of the Rikshas, my father did not know that Lord Krishna was actually his former master, Lord Ramachandra, husband of Sita. So, not being aware of the true identity of Lord Krishna, my father Jambavan remained continually engaged in fighting with Krishna for 27 days. After this period, when Jambavan became very tired and fatigued, he could then understand that since no one but Lord Ram could defeat him, this opponent, Lord Krishna, must be the very same Lord Ramachandra. Jambavan thus came to his senses, and not only immediately returned the Syamantaka jewel, but in order to satisfy Lord Krishna, he presented me to him just to become his wife. So in this way, I was married to Lord Krishna. And so, my desire is to remain life after life as the servitor of Krishna. That is my desire. After this, Kalindi said, "My dear Draupadi, I was engaged in great austerities and penances in order to get Lord Krishna as my husband. And when Lord Krishna became aware of this fact, he very kindly came to me along with his friend Arjuna and accepted me as his wife. Lord Krishna then took me away from the bank of the Yamuna, and since then I have been engaged in the house of Lord Krishna as a sweeper, although Lord Krishna is treating me as his wife." After this, Mitravinda said, "My dear Draupadi, there was a great assembly of princes at my Swayamvara ceremony. Lord Krishna was also present in that meeting, and he accepted me as his maidservant by defeating all the princes present. Krishna immediately took me away to Dwaraka, exactly as a lion takes a deer from a pack of dogs. When I was thus taken away by Krishna, my brothers wanted to fight with him, but later on they were all defeated. Thus, my desire to become the maidservant of Krishna life after life was fulfilled." After this, Satya addressed Draupadi in this way, "My dear Draupadi, my father arranged for an assembly at my Swayamvara, or personal selection of a husband. And in order to test the strength and heroism of the prospective bridegrooms, my father stipulated that they each had to fight with 7 ferocious bulls which had long serpentine horns. Many heroic prospective bridegrooms tried to defeat the bulls, but unfortunately they were all severely struck, and so they returned to their homes as defeated invalids. Then Lord Sri Krishna came and fought with the bulls, and for him they were just like playthings. Krishna captured the bulls and roped each one of them by their nostrils. Thus they came under Krishna's control, just like the goat's small kids come very easily under the control. My father became very pleased and married me to Lord Krishna in great pomp, giving as my dowry many divisions of soldiers, horses, chariots, and elephants, along with hundreds of maidservants. Thus, Lord Krishna brought me to his capital city, Dwaraka. On the way back, Krishna was also assaulted by many princes, but Lord Krishna defeated all of them, and thus I have the privilege of serving Krishna's lotus feet as a maidservant." After this, Bhadra began speaking. "My dear Draupadi, Lord Krishna is the son of my maternal uncle. Fortunately, I became attracted to Krishna's lotus feet. When my father understood these feelings of mine, he personally arranged for my marriage, inviting Lord Krishna to marry me, and he gave Krishna a dowry of 1 akshauhini, or division of armed forces, along with many maidservants and other royal paraphernalia. But I do not know whether I shall be able to have the shelter of Lord Krishna life after life. But still I pray to Lord Krishna that wherever I may take my birth, that I may never forget my relationship with his lotus feet. Then Lakshmana spoke. My dear Queen Draupadi, many times I heard the great sage Narada Muni glorifying the pastimes of Lord Krishna. Thus, I became attracted to the lotus feet of Krishna when I heard Narada say that the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi Ji, was also attracted to Krishna's lotus feet. Since then, I have always been thinking of Krishna, and thus my attraction for Krishna has increased. My dear Queen Draupadi, my father was very affectionate toward me. So when he understood that I was attracted to Krishna, he devised a unique plan. His plan was like that devised by your father, Draupadi. During the Swayamvara, the prospective bridegrooms had to pierce the eyes of a fish with their arrows. Now, the difference between the competition in your Swayamvara and mine was that in your case, the fish was hanging openly on the ceiling in clear view. But in my case, the fish was covered with a cloth and could only be seen by the reflection of the cloth in a water pot. This was the special feature of my Swayamvara. And so the news of this device was spread all over the world. And when the princes heard it, they arrived at my father's capital city from all directions, fully equipped with armor and guided by their military instructors. Each one of them desired to win me as his wife, and one after another they raised the bow and arrow which was left there for piercing the fish. Many could not even join the bowstring to the two ends of the bow, and so without attempting to pierce the fish, they simply left the bow as it was and went away. Now some, with great difficulty, were able to draw the string from one end to the other, but being unable to tie the other end, they were suddenly knocked down by the spring-like bow. Oh, my dear Queen Draupadi, you will be surprised to know that at my Swayamvara meeting, there were many famous kings and heroes. Present were heroes like Jarasandha, Ambashta, Shishupal, Bhimasena, Duryodhana, and Karna. All were, of course, able to string the bow, but they could not pierce the fish because it was covered and they could not trace it out from the reflection. Then that celebrated hero of the Pandavas, Arjuna, he was able to see the reflection of the fish on the water. But although with great caution, Arjuna was able to trace out the location of the fish, he shot an arrow, but it did not pierce the fish in the right spot. His arrow at least grazed the fish. So Arjuna proved himself better than all the other princes. All the princes who had tried to pierce the target were disappointed, having been baffled in their attempts. And some candidates had even left the place without making an attempt. But when at last Lord Krishna took up the bow, he was able to tie the bowstring very easily, just as a child plays with a toy. Krishna placed the arrow, and looking only once at the reflection of the fish in the water, Krishna shot the arrow and pierced the fish, which immediately fell down. This victory of Lord Krishna was accomplished at noon, during the moment called Abhijit, which is astronomically calculated as auspicious. At that time, the vibration of Jai, Jai was heard all over the world, and from the sky came sounds of drums beaten by the denizens of heaven. The great demigods were overwhelmed with joy, and they began showering flowers on the earth. At that time, I entered the arena of competition, and the ankle bells on my legs were sounding very melodiously as I walked. I was nicely dressed with new silken garments. Flowers were decorating my hair. And because of Lord Krishna's victory, I was in ecstatic joy, and I was smiling very pleasingly. In my hands, I was carrying a golden necklace bedecked with jewels, which glittered at intervals. My curling hair encircled my face, which was shining with a bright luster due to the reflection of my various rings. My eyes blinking, I first of all observed all the My eyes blinking, I first of all observed all the princes present, and when I reached my lord, I very slowly placed the golden necklace on Krishna's neck. Now, as I have already informed you, from the very beginning, my mind had been attracted to Krishna, and thus I considered garlanding Krishna to be my great victory. As soon as I placed my garland on the neck of Krishna, there sounded immediately the combined vibration of mridangas, patahas, conch shells, drums, kettle drums, and other instruments. All of this caused a tumultuous sound. And while the music played, expert male and female dancers began dancing, and singers began singing sweetly. My dear Draupadi, when I accepted Lord Krishna as my worshipable husband, and Krishna also accepted me as his maidservant, there was a tumultuous roaring among the disappointed princes. All of them became very agitated because of their lusty desires. But without caring for them, my husband, in his four-armed form as Narayan, immediately took me on his chariot, which was drawn by 4 excellent horses. Expecting opposition from the princes, Krishna armored himself and took up his celebrated bow, which was named Sharanga. And our celebrated driver, Daruka, drove the beautiful chariot without a moment's delay toward the city of Dwaraka. Thus, in the presence of all the princes, I was carried away very quickly, exactly as a deer is carried away from the flock by a lion. Some of the princes, however, wanted to check our progress, and so they were equipped with proper weapons and they opposed us, just as dogs try to oppose the progressive march of a lion. At that time, due to the arrows released by the Sharanga bow of Lord Krishna, some of the princes were cut on their left hands, some of them lost their legs, and some lost their heads, and some even lost their lives, while others simply fled from the battlefield. The Supreme Personality of Godhead then entered the most celebrated city of the universe, Dwaraka. And as Krishna entered the city, Krishna appeared like the shining sun. The whole city of Dwaraka was profusely decorated on that occasion. There were so many flags and festoons and gates all over Dwaraka that the sunshine could not even enter the city. Now, I have already told you that my father was very much affectionate to me. So when he saw that my desire was fulfilled by getting Krishna as my husband, in great happiness, my father began distributing to friends and relatives various kinds of gifts, such as valuable dresses, ornaments, bedsteads, and sitting carpets. Now, although Lord Krishna is always self-sufficient, being Atmaram and Aptakam, still my father, out of his own accord, offered Krishna a dowry consisting of riches, soldiers, elephants, chariots, horses, and many rare and valuable weapons. My father presented all of these to Krishna with great enthusiasm. My dear Queen Draupadi, at that time I could guess that in my previous life I must have performed some wonderfully pious activity, and as a result, in this life, I am one of the maidservants in the house of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. After all the 8 principal queens of Krishna had finished their statements, Rohini, as the representative of the other 16,100 queens, began narrating the incident of their becoming wives of Krishna. Rohini said, "My dear Queen Draupadi, when Bhauma Asura was conquering all the world, he collected wherever possible all the beautiful daughters of kings, and he kept us all arrested within his palace. So when news of our imprisonment reached Lord Krishna, Krishna fought with Bhauma Asura and then released us. Lord Krishna killed Bhauma Asura and all of his soldiers. And although Krishna had no need to accept even one wife, nevertheless, by our request, Krishna married all 16,100 of us. My dear Queen Draupadi, our only qualification was that we were always thinking of the lotus feet of Krishna, which is the way, excuse me, my dear Queen Draupadi, our only qualification is that we are always thinking of the lotus feet of Krishna, which is the way to release oneself from the bondage of repeated birth and death. My dear Queen Draupadi, please take it from us that we are not after any opulence, such as a kingdom, empire, or a position of heavenly enjoyment. We do not want to enjoy such material opulences, nor do we desire to achieve the yogic perfections, nor do we desire the exalted post of Lord Brahma, and nor do we want any of the different kinds of liberation, sarupya, salokya, sarshti, samipya, and what to speak of sayuja. We are not at all attracted by any of these opulences. Our only ambition is to bear on our heads, life after life, the dust particles attached to the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. The goddess of fortune always desires to keep that dust on her breast, along with fragrant saffron. We simply desire this dust, which accumulates underneath the lotus feet of Krishna, as Krishna travels on the land of Vrindavan as a cowherder boy. The gopis especially, and also the cowherder men, and the Aborigine tribeswomen always desire to become the grass and straw on the street of Vrindavan, just to be trampled upon by the lotus feet of Krishna. And so, my dear Queen Draupadi, we other queens of Krishna wish to remain as such, life after life, without any other desire. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So there are some notes in this section, so I will read these notes. These, of course, are taken from the purports found in the 10th canto of the BBT, 10th canto Srimad Bhagavatam. King Sadrajit had already compromised himself by promising his daughter's hand first to Akrura and then again to a number of other suitors. But after the return of the Syamantaka jewel, Satyajit felt impelled by his shame to offer his daughter Satyabhama to Lord Krishna instead. According to Srila Sridhar Swami, the word prabhave, unto the Lord, answers any doubt as to the propriety of offering Krishna a bride who had already been promised to others. For it is perfectly proper to offer Krishna everything one owns, and it is improper to withhold anything from Krishna. In the case of Jambavan, Jambavan had been Lord Ramachandra's servant many thousands of years before the Krishna avatar. The great Acharya, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti, mentions that while hearing Jambavati's story, the women present recognized Jambavati as the girl whom Jambavan had once offered to Lord Sri Ram to be his wife. But since Lord Ram had taken a vow to have only one wife, Ramachandra could not accept her. But he did so when Ram returned in the Dwapara Yuga as Krishna. The other queens wanted to honor Jambavati for this, but Jambavati replied humbly, "No, no, no. I am just Lord Krishna's maidservant." With the word Atmanaha, Queen Bhadra speaks not only for herself, but for all living entities as well, for the soul's perfection, Sreya Atmanaha, is devotional service to Krishna, both in this world and beyond in liberation. And this is also the teaching of Lord Chaitanya in his 4th Shikshastakam verse. The greatest scholar, Srila Jiva Goswami, comments that although in civilized society it is normally considered disrespectful to publicly speak the name of one's husband, Lord Krishna's name, however, is unique, for the mere utterance of the name Krishna is commendable as the highest expression of reverence for God. As it is stated in the Shvetashvatara Upanishad, Yasya Nama Mahad Yasha. The holy name of God is supremely glorious. Arjuna is famous as the most expert bowman. Why then could Arjuna not hit the fish target at Srimati Lakshmana's Swayamvara ceremony, just as Arjuna had done once before in order to win Draupadi? The original commentator on Bhagavatam, Srila Sridhar Swami, explains as follows. The target at Draupadi's Swayamvara had been covered only partially, so that a marksman could see it if looking straight up the pillar on which it was placed. But to shoot Lakshmana's target, however, it was necessary to aim by looking up and down at the same time, which is an impossible feat for any mere mortal. Therefore, only Krishna could have struck the target. So according to the explanation of Srila Sridhar Swami, Arjuna was more expert a marksman than the other kings, but Arjuna's physical strength was not adequate to the task of shooting it with perfect accuracy. Each day, the sun passes once through the lunar constellation Abhijit, marking the period most auspicious for victory. As pointed out by Vishwanath Chakravarti, on this particular day, the Muhurta of Abhijit coincided with high noon, further emphasizing Lord Krishna's greatness by making the target all the more difficult to see. Srila Sridhar Swami states that Sri Lakshmana was so excited by remembering how she had obtained the Supreme Lord that Lakshmana forgot her natural shyness and went on to describe her own triumph of marrying Krishna. Sridhar Swami comments that the contamination of lust led the kings to quarrel foolishly with Lord Krishna even after seeing Krishna's supreme power. According to Vishwanath Chakravarti, with 2 of his 4 arms, Lord Krishna embraced his new bride Lakshmana, and with the other 2, Krishna held his bow and arrows. In the opinion of Vishwanath Chakravarti, Srimati Lakshmana became embarrassed when she realized that she had been talking about herself, and so Lakshmana spoke praising her co-wives. In her humility, Lakshmana claimed that Krishna's queens, unlike ordinary wives, could not bring their husband Krishna under their control, and thus they could relate to Krishna only as servile housekeepers. In fact, however, since Lord Krishna's queens are direct expansions of Krishna's internal potency, Hladini Shakti, the queens were able to fully control Krishna, but only by their love. Lord Krishna's queens clearly state They do not desire any kind of material power, or even the position of Lord Brahma, or liberation, or even entrance into the kingdom of God. Krishna's queens simply want the dust of Lord Krishna's feet, which goddess Sri herself worships. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti tells us that the goddess of fortune mentioned here is not Lakshmi, the consort of Narayan. After all, goddess Lakshmi could not attain direct association of Krishna after performing extended austerities, as Uddhava himself formally stated, Nayang Sriyonga U Nitanta Reta Prasada. Rather, the Sri referred to here is the supreme goddess of fortune, who is identified by the following Brihad Gautamiya Tantra verse. Devi Krishna Mai Prokta Radhika Paradevata Sarva Lakshmi Mai Sarva Kanti Sammohini Para. The transcendental goddess Srimati Radharani is the direct counterpart of Lord Krishna. Radha Thakurani is the central figure of all the goddesses of fortune. Radha possesses all the attractiveness to attract the all-attractive personality of Godhead, Krishna. Srimati Radharani is therefore the primeval internal potency of Lord Krishna. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti reminds us of the jealous rivalry that always existed between the queens of Dwaraka and the gopis of Vraja. For the gopis considered the sophisticated women of Dwaraka to be the most serious threat to their hold on Krishna, and they confessed this to Uddhava. Kasmat Krishna ihayati prapta rajo hitahita Narendra Kanya Udvaha. The gopis admit, why should Krishna come back here after winning a kingdom, killing his enemies, and marrying the daughters of kings? So Rukmini and her 7 chief co-wives considered themselves so fortunate in their relationship with Krishna as he appeared in Dwaraka that they did not especially desire to see Krishna as he is in Vrindavan. But the 16,100 lesser queens, once after hearing Uddhava describe Radha's super excellent qualities, thus became attracted to touch the dust that falls from Krishna's feet onto the grass and plants of Vrindavan. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti therefore indicates that some Bhagavatam commentators give this as the reason why, after the Maushala Leela, or the annihilation of the Yadu dynasty, these 16,100 queens were stolen from Arjuna on the road by Lord Krishna himself in the disguise of 16,100 cowherders, who then took them away to Gokula. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Namaste Narasimhaya Praklada Klada Dayane Hiranya Kashi Odavakshaha Shilatankana Kalaye Ito Nrsinga Parato Nrsingo Yato Yato Yamitato Nrsingha Bahi Nrsingo Hridaye Nrsingho Nrsingham Ading Sharanang Prapadye Tavakara Kamala Vare Nakam Adbhuta Sringam Dalita Hiranya Kashipo Tanu Bringam Keshavadrita Narahadi Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadish Jai Jagadish Jai Jagadisha Hare Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Tat Sat